Do you feel more comfortable that I could maybe dunk in a few weeks or get better at shooting?
In a few weeks? Oh, boy. Is that what we're calling that? All you need is a few
30
weeks.
days.
30 days. Athlete of the Year, and she is the first and now last guest of New Heights in the 2025 season. 92%ers, please welcome back to the show, Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark did not just sit down with Jason and Travis Kelce. She walked straight into the center of America's sports spotlight and flipped the power dynamic. What sounded like a fun podcast appearance quietly turned into a warning shot for the WNBA, Nike, and everyone still underestimating her reach.
Pounds and get the technique down perfectly.
I think you need to start with like a tennis ball. Then you get the tennis ball, you go to like a volleyball, then you go to a basketball. I mean, don't ask me. I obviously don't dunk.
Are you dunking?
When Caitlin Clark appeared on New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce, it did not feel like a routine crossover interview, and that is exactly why it went viral almost instantly. The episode opened casually with jokes and banter, but beneath the surface, something far more significant was unfolding. Clark was not being introduced as a promising young WNBA star or a talented shooter coming off a turbulent season. She was treated like a cultural heavyweight, someone whose opinions mattered far beyond basketball, and that shift did not go unnoticed.
This is brought to you by Nike.
And this is why.
Joining us today for a special edition of New News is the 6-foot guard from Iowa. She's the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, the first overall pick.
From the first few minutes, the tone was different. Jason and Travis Kelce did not talk to Clark like a guest trying to prove herself. They spoke to her the way they speak to NFL stars, champions, and faces of franchises. That alone sent shockwaves through online sports spaces. But guess what? That was only the beginning. I wonder how Taylor Swift might be feeling.
Let's talk some Nike. We're honored to be a part of your Nike launch, being a part of the commercial that is. How's it feel? How's it feel to finally have it all out there? And I know it was a long time coming.
Anyways, as the conversation moved into Clark's new Nike ad and her signature shoe, the implications became impossible to ignore. Clark spoke openly, confidently, and without hesitation about the process, the pressure, and the responsibility that comes with being one of Nike's central bets moving forward. This was not framed as a nice opportunity. It was framed as a cornerstone deal, a long-term investment, a statement.
Obviously, this is kind of launching like a whole year where my shoe eventually will come out. Wearing it on the court this coming season. So
nice.
That's probably what I'm most excited for, but like just getting the people more excited with the logo. And obviously
Clark acknowledged how surreal it felt, but she did not downplay it. She understood exactly what it meant. A signature shoe is not just merchandise. It is a declaration of hierarchy. It is Nike saying, without saying it, that this athlete is worth building around. Hold on for what's coming, because that message landed loudly across the WNBA.
and Travis Scott was in it. My college basketball coach was in it, and then just some other people that have kind of like been huge fans throughout my career, or have been a part since I was either in high school or now professionally. So
the Kelce brothers leaned into that reality, joking about fantasy punishments and competitiveness, but repeatedly circling back to one thing: Clark's mindset. They were struck by how grounded she sounded despite carrying the weight of expectations from fans, sponsors, and an entire league desperate to capitalize on momentum. Clark spoke about staying focused, about learning from chaos, about understanding that attention can be both fuel and distraction.
Hell yeah.
It was fun to shoot, and just really thankful that everybody was a part of it, and especially you guys. So you made it fun. You brought the energy.
Yeah, Jason.
All we wanted to do.
Jason can't make a jump shot to say.
But guess what? Between the laughs and light moments, subtle tension crept into the conversation. Clark touched on how strange it feels to be everywhere at once. National ads, viral clips, constant debate. She did not frame it as resentment, but she did not pretend it was easy either. That honesty resonated, especially when contrasted with how often her success is reduced to numbers or highlights.
Then you get the tennis ball, you go to like a volleyball, then you go to a basketball.
Okay, all right.
Work your way up. I mean, don't ask me. I obviously don't dunk. Heck no. I could maybe like grab the rim, but
Jason Kelce in particular pressed on the idea of pressure. He compared it to moments when the NFL knew exactly who they needed to protect and promote, and how quickly narratives can turn if something goes wrong. Clark listened carefully, nodding, and then said something that sent fans into a frenzy. She talked about how this season taught her that being visible means being vulnerable, and that the next chapter requires intention, not just talent.
Obviously, to get back out there, it had been a minute, so like it was just obviously a long and like tough year of reoccurring injuries, and like you guys know how that goes. Like when you get one nagging thing, it kind of leads to another. So It wasn't obviously how.
That single idea sparked speculation instantly. Fans began asking whether Clark was hinting at changes behind the scenes, adjustments to her role, boundaries with media, even her long-term relationship with the league itself. She did not clarify, and that ambiguity only fueled the fire.
Problem I feel like with a lot of like young kids and like young basketball players, their form is like so jacked up, but like I feel like it's a pretty easy thing to pick up on like from a young age. So that's always what I tell like young kids, like make sure you're
hold on for what's coming, because the interview also cracked open a conversation about cross-league respect. Travis Kelce openly praised how Clark carries herself, pointing out that very few athletes manage to command respect in spaces that are not traditionally welcoming. That comment landed heavily. It was not just praise, it was acknowledgement of resistance.
Form is always good, and then you like kind of work your way back, but that's what I would always say the most important is. And like I would get mad at my dad when I was a young girl because he wouldn't let me like just launch threes because like my elbows would be out like this.
Clark did not deny it. Instead, she spoke carefully about navigating environments where admiration and skepticism coexist. She avoided naming names, but the subtext was unmistakable. She has felt pushback, she has felt discomfort, and she has learned to move forward anyway. The discussion about fantasy punishments might have sounded lighthearted, but even that segment revealed something deeper. Clark thrives on competition, even in spaces where the stakes are symbolic. She laughed, joked, and engaged fully, reinforcing an image that fans already recognize. She is not trying to be likable. She is trying to be excellent. That distinction matters.
Crazy because LeBron's on shoe 23 now, which is like crazy to think about how long his signature line has lasted.
I know, it's crazy, and I've gotten all 23 of them.
You don't see like a lot of signature cleats in football.
But guess what? The real bombshell was how naturally Clark fit into a space dominated by NFL energy and male sports culture. She was not sidelined. She was not minimized. She was centered. That alone sent a message to brands, leagues, and executives watching closely. Social media reactions exploded within minutes of the episode dropping. Clips of Clark discussing her Nike deal circulated alongside comments questioning why the WNBA still struggles to market its stars the way podcasts like New Heights do effortlessly. Fans pointed out that Clark's personality, humor, and insight were on full display here in ways league broadcasts often fail to capture.
You wear like your own PEs, like Jordan PEs, right? Don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Shout out to Jordan. I think those fit my game the best just because I grew up in that like Jordan.
Speculation grew louder. Is Clark positioning herself beyond the traditional WNBA framework? Is she becoming something bigger than the league itself? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they are no longer avoidable. Hold on, because the timing of this interview made everything more volatile. With labor negotiations looming, expansion talks heating up, and tensions around visibility and revenue sharing still unresolved, Clark's growing influence feels like both an opportunity and a threat. When one player commands this much cultural attention, it forces institutions to adapt or risk being outpaced.
On top of that, like going to like play versus the best players again and like just getting tossed out back into the fire, but it was fun. Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Like you get thrown back out there with the best players in the world and you see like you're right where you.
Clark addressed the future carefully, especially when Week 18 previews and broader sports conversations came up. She spoke like someone who sees the entire landscape, not just her corner of it. That perspective stood out. It suggested maturity shaped by pressure rather than age. Jason and Travis both emphasized how rare that is. They have seen stars burn out. They have seen hype collapse under its own weight. Clark, however, appears to be learning in real time how to manage scale, something the WNBA has historically struggled to support.
Ever. So that was a pretty cool thing too, and kind of kicks off like the next cycle for like preparing for the Olympics, and then we have the World Cup in 2026, so at the end of September. So we'll actually like
but guess what? That gap between her growth and the league's infrastructure is becoming impossible to ignore. Fans are starting to notice that Clark's biggest platforms are often external: podcasts, endorsements, national media, rather than league-controlled channels. That imbalance raises questions about who is truly driving the narrative. The Nike conversation returned again near the end of the episode, and this time it felt heavier. Clark spoke about legacy without using the word directly. She talked about wanting to build something that lasts, something that opens doors for players who come next. That sentiment was powerful, but it also hinted at frustration. Building something lasting requires stability, alignment, and trust.
The past has almost been harder for us to win because there's more teams that play in the World Cup than qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's harder to win that. So hopefully I'm on the team for that, and
Speculation immediately followed. Is Clark quietly signaling that the league must evolve faster to keep pace with its stars? Is she drawing lines about how much she is willing to carry? No answers were given, but the silence was loud. Hold on for what's coming, because the aftermath of this interview has been just as revealing as the conversation itself. Media outlets framed it as fun and light. Fans framed it as revolutionary. Critics framed it as further proof that Clark is being elevated above others. That divide continues to widen.
It'll be here as soon as you know it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Trav, well, you could play flag football in 2028.
Hey!
You already know.
I can snap. If they need a snapper, I will gladly snap.
What cannot be denied is that Clark walked into new heights and left having shifted perception again. She was not positioned as a women's basketball player crossing over into a bigger space. She was positioned as an elite athlete whose sport deserves the same gravity. That distinction matters more than any single quote. The WNBA is watching. Sponsors are watching. Players are watching. Because when Caitlin Clark speaks in spaces like this, she is not just representing herself, she is redefining expectations.
Like, want to play or like try to play or?
Oh, I think there's going to be a bunch that are going to want to.
A few of the receivers and DBs that have good like hand-eye and ball skills. I think those guys.
But guess what? That power comes with consequences. As Clark's influence grows, so does scrutiny. Every move will be analyzed not just for performance, but for symbolism. The league must decide whether to follow her momentum or resist it. This interview made one thing clear. Caitlin Clark is no longer waiting for permission. She is shaping her own narrative on her own platforms with confidence and clarity. And the terrifying truth for anyone still in denial is this: the center of gravity is shifting, and it is shifting fast. Caitlin Clark did not just go viral on new heights. She exposed how big her shadow has become. And whether the WNBA is ready or not, the next era is already speaking.